So it seems like there's been a pretty big situation going on in the VTuber community right now with a massive Google Doc dropping over on Twitter, which you guys probably know about from RadiaActive over on Twitter. And obviously, you know, it's involving another VTuber called Adora Bunny. And essentially, they put out this post saying, I've never anticipated having to make a statement like this, but I can no longer bear living in fear of someone who once called themselves a sister. So obviously, yeah, this has been a pretty big topic and it's obviously ever growing, and I've done some research into what is actually going on here and what exactly has happened. Now, as far as I know, obviously, RadiaActive used to be part of this group called Project STIM, which has obviously got Adora Bunny in. Now, I don't really know the inner workings of the company. I don't know exactly who's in charge or anything like that. It'll probably tell us further in the Google Doc, but I wanted to go through the Google Doc and give you guys a quick kind of rundown of what is going on, because obviously a lot of you guys will probably see a 96-page Google Doc and be like, whoa, okay, maybe I don't really want to, you know, get involved with that or read into that, which obviously I think is fair enough. But yeah, essentially what we're going to go through is, you know, some of the main synopsis points, which they actually kindly put in this kind of document. And obviously as well, I think it's very important to point out with a lot of these allegations that are coming forward, because they are very, very heavy, including a ton of like stuff to do with abuse and things, which is obviously extremely horrible. Adora has put out a statement to this Google Doc saying, need a week to put together my response to Radia's document to get evidence together. It hurts when your best friend goes for your career after hurting you as well. It's not true, and in the end was a mutual hurting with friends. I thought we would mutually stop being friends due to hurting each other, but it turns out we haven't. Are we putting together a defense with receipts? So again, we'll have to wait for that, and obviously I will, you know, keep you guys up to date whenever that, you know, does drop. But essentially, yeah, this is the document that they put out, you know, and obviously it's been done with the help of some other people in the community as well. Like whenever you look at the actual post itself, you can see in the quote retweets, there's been a lot of kind of people talking about, you know, support and things for them. Obviously, there's a lot of people, you know, saying I didn't want any part in this, nor did I want it to become necessary. However, what Radia says here is true and verified to me by a couple of things. So again, there's a lot of people backing up this, but there's also people, for example, like Alicia X Life, who we've obviously covered here, and obviously apparently they got mad at her or something for you know, one chat message. Again, I'm not really sure what that's about, but again, we'll get into it. They say essentially trigger warning, obviously stuff to do with offering themselves and, you know, psychological stuff, abuse, doxing, and gaslighting. They say over the past 2 months, Twitch streamer and VTuber Adora Bunny has engaged in what appears to be a campaign of active slander and harassment against her former friend, fellow Twitch streamer and VTuber RadiaActive. Now, I don't know whether this is written by someone else. Obviously, she says she has help with this, but again, it's very weird because it's very hard to get in your mind whether they're speaking third person about themselves. Obviously, RadiaActive is the one that released this Google Doc, and they just, you know, referring to themselves in the third person for reasons that are only known to Adora and change with each telling. This campaign has been largely kept from public view and has relied almost entirely on the spread of malicious and fictitious rumors, veiled threats, and whispers in people's ears, specifically larger, more influential members of the Twitch and VTubing community, in what appears to be an attempt to end the streaming career of RadiaActive. They say the end result of this has caused immense damage to Radia's mental health, personal relationships, career, financial situations, and nearly the loss of her life, which obviously, yeah, is terrible. They say Radia is not only a person who has suffered at the hands of this kind of attack by Adora, but in the interest of not speaking for others, this document will primarily focus on Radia. This document has been compiled in an attempt to bring Adora's behavior into the public light. For the sake of privacy, it will not cover events relating to Radia and contain testimonies, screenshots, and receipts of not only Adora's behavior, but of the consequences of her actions have on others, in specifics to the 2 months of hell that she's put Radia through, which has almost ended in the most tragic of circumstances. So again, yeah, pretty rough, and obviously it's, you know, they specify here that they've had some people helping them out, including Digital Vagrant and Laserpig. Again, I don't know who they are, but I heard some people in virtual YouTubers talking about them, saying that they liked them. Again, I don't know who exactly they are, but essentially, yeah, they leave this big kind of, you know, chapter thing, and obviously I'll leave the Google Doc in the description if you want to take a more in-depth look and, you know, read through all 96 pages of this. But essentially, yeah, we go to the first synopsis, which essentially, they say, for those with limited time, below are the listed bullet points of what occurred during this phase of Adora's campaign. So the first kind of phase that they're talking about is the ousting from Project STIM, which is obviously the company or not the company, the group, sorry, that they were a part of. And, you know, it was it's just an indie group, you know, where they make content together and stuff. Essentially, say, for those with limited time, below is a listed bullet points of what occurred during the phase of Adora's campaign, luring Radia into a poorly planned 3v1 intervention / interrogation where she was accused of being ungrateful, a compulsive liar, and a content thief, and having falsified her medical records for monetary gain. Which, yeah, is pretty crazy. Say, Radia was sent into a days-long emotional breakdown during Adora dictated a dishonest version of events to both her friends and family. Adora doctored a document that purported to represent the facts of the event to remove most references to herself. Adora extensively attempted to drive a wedge in Radia's relationship with her partner through extensive disinformation provided when he was in an emotionally compromised state, and Radia was forced to leave Project STIM after an unrelated comment on her own stream, which was being monitored, was used as a proof of her lack of regret, which obviously, yeah, is pretty crazy. And obviously that is why she is no longer a part of Project STIM. Now, obviously they go into more detail with the screenshots and stuff. If you guys want to look at that, again, it will be down in the link in the description if you want to go look at this. Obviously they talk about like post-confrontation and stuff. And they also talk about, for example, some other things as well. Including there's a list of Radia's injuries. Now I do think Radia's injuries is probably the incorrect way to say it. I'd say Radia's Radia's losses, Radia's something else. Because all of these aren't injuries per se. Obviously, it's still terrible. But obviously a lot of them aren't like physical injuries. So I wouldn't really describe them as that. But again, obviously that's how they've chosen to describe it in this one chapter. And they talk about like the immense psychological kind of pain of a lot of this going on, and some of a lot of other stuff that kind of affected her in her life. But then they go on to as well the ongoing slander and harassment campaign. They say, for those with limited time below, here's another listed bulletproof point, kind of bit where they essentially bullet point a lot of the ongoing slander and harassment against them. There's a combing through Radia's personal information and professional social media presence, searching for evidence that she could use to accuse Radia of falsifying her career and education background. There's a casually doxing Radia's real name and personal information that Adora discovered to completely unrelated third parties. So actively spread a disinformation narrative to a still unknown number of uninvolved parties in an attempt to freeze Radia out of as much of her social and support networks as possible. Publicly disparaged Radia both personally and through an additional content creator upon Radia attempting to privately announce to her community about her cessation of content with Adora. They say worked to continue Radia's isolation at the Off-Kai convention and other various social events. Inspired implied threats against uninvolved third parties seen speaking to Radia during the Off-Kai convention, and due to extreme isolation, overwhelming sense of hopelessness, Radia attempted. You can understand the rest. I mean, YouTube will probably take down my video if I kind of go into detail about that, but you guys can see on the page what happened, and obviously it's absolutely terrible that it had actually come to that and it had gone that far. Obviously as well, they go into more detail about the doxing of, personal information, and they provide statements from people like Laserpig here saying, "So I never really wanted to be a part of this, but Radia and Adora were two very close friends of mine, so I kind of had my head out the window, so to speak." And obviously it seems like Laserpig was kind of in the middle between them. So again, obviously it doesn't look too good for Adora whenever Laserpig actually, is the one that is on her side. But again, obviously some people can be swayed by different bits of information. So again, it doesn't really mean that much, but obviously Laserpig giving his kind of statement there and saying, I wasn't paying attention, didn't care, better stuff to attend to than hot girl VTuber drama. Yeah, okay, I heard things on the grapevine, and Digi reached out to me a few times, and I was a little suspicious of things, and said I've maybe talked to Adora or Radia, but I was halfway into video editing hole, and basically had my head up my ass. What I said one day, I'd forgotten the next. And then they said, then Radia goes to hospital, and suddenly I have my best friend crying over video call, worried that he's going to lose his girlfriend over this. and that's what I started paying closer attention to. And so obviously, yeah, they talked about a lot of the stuff that went on with them too. Again, this is a very, very long Google Doc. And, you know, obviously, as well, they say anonymous account of doxing. They say, note, it's necessary to note that this individual was willing to provide a statement and DM evidence of Adora's doxing of Radia, but asked for their name to be removed. So again, obviously, this is the evidence of, you know, them doxing, you know, Radia. And obviously, this person didn't want to be known. So again, obviously this is all here too. So on an unrelated note, letting you know I'm going to be distancing from Reddit here soon, as is Pom and Fen. Unfortunately, during Anime North, a series of small lies happened that she would be able to take responsibility for. And now when we looked around, we realized, unfortunately, she's lying about her degrees and stuff like that, which obviously backs up a lot of the other stuff that happened. So obviously they said, if you need proof of how it makes no sense, just go to look at her LinkedIn yourself. You'll see VTuber stuff quietly hidden into it as of recent as this year. And they said, I don't know what her IRL name is, lol, I can't even look. And they said, well, do you promise not to leak it? And obviously, you know, they sent it, and you know, that's exactly what happened. They said Radia at no point consented to the sharing of her IRL information or socials to others, especially to those outside the situation entirely. So obviously, yeah, this was someone outside of the situation that they were obviously doxing this information to. But again, obviously, there could be other sides to this. We don't really know. And this is why this situation is so sticky and so hard to kind of navigate, because obviously there's a lot of statements from a lot of people. There's a lot of kind of stuff coming out, including obviously Adora Bunny still yet to make a kind of statement herself. Obviously, they also talk about Discord harassment. During the course of Radia's attempts to move on, she discovered that any attempt to speak about what had happened in anything resembling a public fashion would be met with retaliation. Adora announced a hiatus during June, apparently due to poor mental health and needing to be a better person to those around me. Obviously, they say Radia assumed quite reasonably that these may have included a poor treatment, and saw this as an opportune time to quell questions of why she's no longer streaming with Adora as quietly and non-committally as possible. Again, there is so much evidence, there's so much kind of screenshots and everything like that, including obviously they're talking as well about Alicia, who also was slightly involved in this apparently. They say, hey folks, so I was made aware about the statement made by Radia about Adora. I wanted to say it's all Adora is taking a break because her and I had an amazing heart-to-heart about life and growth. This didn't involve Radia. Don't know why she's making it about herself, as Alicia is a well-known sizable VTuber with an extremely large community. Directing the ire of her community at Radia was both grossly irresponsible considering the dangers of online fans, and a clear retaliation at Radia for speaking up to try and address anyone that had what happened. Again, I mean, I don't really get why Alicia's in this. It doesn't really matter. Obviously, they said they wanted to keep this mainly towards Adora Bunny. I don't know why Alicia has really been mentioned so much in here. Again, obviously, they keep on talking about Alicia as well, saying, as stated above in Radia's statement, Alicia had previously abruptly cut contact mere minutes after the conclusion of the conversation where Radia was ejected from Project STIM, citing the incident where Radia had disrespected one of her community members. So, again, it's just a very, very confusing situation. Obviously, yeah, they got, you know, harassed off-guy and stuff, and also they talk about their attempt. I'm not going to go into that. That's just way too heavy to deal with. Obviously, I mean, I guess a lot of the kind of, you know, they provide a lot of different kind of evidence about all of the conditions and stuff. Again, it's all in the Google Doc there if you guys want to go read it. Again, I hope this has kind of brought a little bit more of a kind of rounder perspective of what is going on. Again, I can only really go off the synopsises because it is just such a long kind of, you know, Google Doc to really, you know, show you guys all, because let's be real, I will be sat here for like 3 hours if I was to go through this entire thing and break it down bar by bar. But the synopsises, obviously, they've provided here, provide a good summary of essentially what has happened and what is going on and what is really being accused towards Adora Bunny's way. And the main thing you should really take from this is the fact that all of this stuff has happened, all of this, you know, there's been this whole thing that's happened that's affected Radia's mental health, personal relationships, career, financial situations, and a near loss of life. And obviously this is due to some of the stuff that Adora Bunny was allegedly doing. Now, obviously we don't know if this is true. We don't know if some of this may be fake, some of this may be, you know, kind of construed, whatever. Obviously, as we said, Adora Bunny is planning a response to this. So again, I think it's just best that we wait for this response to kind of come out to see what they can kind of look through this. Obviously, I will continue to kind of analyze this document a little bit further so that whenever the Adora statement does come out, we can kind of cross-check it with a lot of stuff that is coming out. Because again, as I said, a lot of stuff is coming out at the moment. And yeah, I just definitely recommend you read through a lot of the kind of details of this situation if you want a more in-depth look. Obviously, usually my kind of thing is to give you a little bit more of a summary, a bit of a quicker way to understand the situation, because I know it can be very confusing at a time like this. But yeah, that's essentially all I got for this video. If you guys did enjoy it, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think about the situation, because again, it's a very confusing one. I'm not really sure how this is going to turn out. I don't know what Adora has to say, because again, there is a lot of evidence and a lot of screenshots and a lot of testaments against them from a lot of people, which obviously doesn't look too good for her. But at the same time, we've seen with many other cases in the past that, you know, people have, you know, been able to overcome a lot of false kind of allegations and false stuff if it does tend to be that. Again, I'm not saying that Radia is falsifying it, but also at the same time, I think it's important to be wary too, because this is something that happens often in the VTuber community. And, you know, it's just something that you need to be wary of every single time. But yeah, that's all I've got for this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. That's all. See ya.